Hey, everybody, this is Liz back with you this week. And today I have someone that I would love for you to meet. We've been trying to do this for a little while. And from the first day, I sat with him and had lunch with him during our franchisee training. Ever since then, I wanted you to get to meet him. So if you want to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from and what location, that would be great.
All right. Well, my name is Muquit. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, but I run the North Augusta location under Brian Connor and Jeremy Owens.
Okay, down in Georgia.
Yep. Well, actually, yeah, I'm in Georgia, but the North Augusta is in South Carolina.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
helpful for people to know for sure.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your childhood and your family and your backstory.
Well, I grew up in Baltimore up until I came here for high school. Childhood was a bit rough growing up. Um, my biological mother was on drugs, and so that was pretty tough to deal with at the time. My father did remarry, and my mom now she was in the military, so that's what brought us down here to the south to Augusta, Georgia. Childhood from that point, going to high school, moving forward, was pretty good, but just had a lot of childhood traumas that I didn't really know that affected me
Mhm.
until I became more of age. So I've always wanted more for myself. So that's pretty much the backstory of where I came from and how I got here to Augusta, Georgia.
So your mom, what do you think it is about her that affects you to this day? Were you emotionally abused, physically abused, or were you just neglected?
I think it was the fact of neglection that kind of settled in to me and didn't really register to me until I got with my significant other, and the issues started rolling in, and I was able to understand what side of view she was coming from.
Yeah, yeah. So being with your girlfriend, has she been able to explain to you, like, okay, that's not normal, or that is normal, or why are you being this way?
Yeah, she had to kind of give it to me in a way that I would be more understanding of it instead of
Mhm.
just coming straight off as no, that doesn't make sense. I don't understand what you're saying. And I was that way for quite a while of just being ignorant to the fact
Mhm.
of issues that I had to face and that I had to address um, currently in order to move forward with my life.
Right, right. So your relationship with your dad, how is that?
It's pretty good. It could be better, but as of right now, it's pretty good. My father is, like I said, he remarried, and now he's got another girlfriend. So he's been married twice now, and now he's with another young lady. So it's a little bit rocky on that side
Yeah, I'm
currently,
sure.
but nonetheless, I really do use all these trials that I've gone through and that I'm currently facing to push me
Mhm.
to move forward and become better.
Yeah, when I met you and we had lunch together, I just really loved hearing your backstory about your family. And you told me a little bit about some lineage before that. Can you tell us about that?
As far as what do you mean?
Were you were you Egyptian, Arab? You told me about a previous past of your family and where you had all come from.
Oh yeah, my father studied Arabic, and he went over to Egypt to study the language for 2 years. And that's where my name originally came from. It's an Arabic name, so that's what I was referencing.
Ah, that's what that was. And everybody, his name is spelled Muquit.
That's correct.
Took
And a
me a
lot of
minute to
people
get
a lot
that.
of people get it wrong, and that's
Yep.
okay. It's very tricky, so I'm completely understanding of it.
So, where did you work when you came down to Georgia? Did you start in lawn care, or did you do something else starting out of school or during school?
Well, I didn't really have many jobs growing up because I was kind of sheltered, and I didn't have my first job until I was 19. So my first job was working at Taco Bell. just something very basic, very simple. I got in because I knew people. But that type of environment didn't. I truly hated it for my first job. I hated every aspect about it. I hated coming into work. Then I had to. My dad would make me pay him gas money to take me to work because
Oh
I
my
didn't have a
word.
car. So I had to allot money out of my checks for that, and it was just getting paid every 2 weeks, minimum pay, just no type of enthusiasm about it whatsoever. So I did that for about, I'd say about a year and a half, maybe. And then after that, I started working at a pizza place that is more popular here on the East Coast called Hungry Howie's. I worked there. That was the longest job I've ever had. I worked there for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, for 5 years. That was my second job. And I was a manager at the very end of it. I was a manager, pretty much running the store, and I just always had this business aspect about myself, and just I've always thought that I could do it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
just based off of how I grew up, the environment that I was in, living up north. It's just so fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got to hustle. Everybody's selling something. So I've always had that business mentality that I could do more and make more for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of really took that job serious. Worked my way from a delivery driver to the front counter to management, closing down the night, doing the drops for the money, all that good stuff. But just it was a franchise. It's just the owner had his own personal issues and didn't really have the resolve to fix it. So ultimately, that business shut down.
How sad.
Um, yeah. So from there, I just made a traumatic jump to going into lawn care. So that's when I finally got into lawn care, which was I've been in lawn care now for the 5 years consecutively.
Wow.
So yeah,
I
three
want to
years.
go back. I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, and that was that you didn't have a job till you were 19 and you were kind of sheltered. What was your mentality about work by that time?
I wanted to do it. I wanted to make my own. I was tired of getting money from my parents. I didn't want to have to ask them for every single thing that I wanted to do. I had to get money from them. So even in high school, in order to offset that, because they wouldn't allow me to have a job and go to school, so I would sell candy in school, and I would
Love
make
it.
really good money. So, and I even had people selling candy for me in other classrooms
How
and
about
breaking
that?
them off a little percentage. Yeah.
That's awesome. Did they not want you to work because they wanted you to finish your education?
Yeah, they wanted me to finish my education. They wanted me to focus on that. They didn't want me to focus on money and what comes with it and just get sidetracked about that. They wanted me to pursue college, and I did for a little while, but it was never my true calling. It was more so of, I guess, what they wanted for me,
Mm-hmm.
what they thought was best for me. So that's where it really came from. But like I said, I sold candy in school for quite a while. Um, Finally got into lawn care, and I worked with my first company. They paid me. It was like I think $11 I was making an
Wow.
hour. Yeah, and I was excited because I got to do something different every day. I wasn't working in the same environment,
Mm-hmm.
and also got paid weekly, something that never happened. So I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yep.
And I've acquired the skills to ultimately ask for more money or find better positions because I was there with them for 2 years, and I felt as though I had kept my head down and just did what I was told and just tried to learn and acquire all the skills that I could, and I finally just got to a point where I had to ask for more for myself because I just felt like it wasn't gonna happen unless I made that call.
Mm-hmm. So,
And
so how did you come to Augusta?
well, my mom was in the military, so she retired down here at Fort Eisenhower now. Hmm.
Okay. So, no, I mean Augusta as an Augusta lawn care, because you were in lawn care, but how did you get with Augusta, our Augusta?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. There's two Augustas.
Right.
Um, but so it was crazy because the company that I was working for before I came to Augusta, one of the guys over there that we were really cool with, he actually told me about Augusta, and he had came over before I did, and I was a little reluctant at first just because of how good he was telling me it was. I was
Yeah.
like, well, wait a minute, this can't be this good. If it's too good to be true, sometimes it's not true.
Yeah. True.
But this was one of those one in a million shots that was actually, it turned out to be exactly what it was.
And what was he saying?
The pay was great, the morality was good. um, they had open book management, and that's something that I didn't hear about from my previous lawn care job. There was no
Mhm.
open book management whatsoever, and exactly the things that Augusta talked about is exactly the things as an employee thought that the owner was doing in his spare time.
Yeah.
Buying boats, chilling in the office, on
Yep.
Facebook. And now looking back, I know that those things are not always the case.
Yes.
But but back then, I would have never known any of that because there was no um, communication between the employer and the employee. It
Yeah.
was just coming to work, clock in, do what you're told, go home, do it again.
So, what was the dynamic of the team when you came? Was Brian still in the field, or was he doing estimates, or where was everybody?
Yeah, Brian was still doing estimates. Jeremy was still in the office, making sure everybody had what they needed, and if we had to call him for anything, he was there. So that was their dynamic. But they just had this very well put together team building situation, and it just felt so comfortable to say whatever you wanted to say in a respectful manner and
Hmm.
get a straightforward answer. And that was something that I've always respected from Brian and Jeremy, that we could bring anything to the table. And if it makes sense, we can move forward with it. But if not, they'll explain why it doesn't make sense and why it's probably not the best idea. So for me, it was all about the team morality and how they
Hmm.
built the team up to be confident in what we do and how we do it.
And so, how would those conversations take place? Did you guys have weekly, bi-weekly meetings? How did that work?
We had weekly meetings every Monday at 7 a.m. and they'd usually last to about 7:30, sometimes 7:45, just depending on what the topics were about, what everybody had to say, and we would go over things that happened last week, yellow slips, P&Ls, um, and pretty much anything that was related to the business as far as what we thought as employees working in the field, what things could be better, what could produce more efficiency, as far as what type of blades, what type of mulching kit, or just little nuances like that that really
Hmm.
make a big difference in our life day to day working in the field. And
Hmm.
it was just they were very good at making sure we had everything that we needed, as far as down to the most minute things as air in the truck. They would make sure that the air is working. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Yeah.
Wow.
So
So, would you say that style of leadership is more like a servant leadership?
yeah, in a sense, it very much is.
Yeah, where they're always watching out for you. Probably when you're not even around, they're thinking about you and how to make things better for you.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree.
Well, when we met, I asked you specifically at lunch that what was it about you when they started the second location that they would look at you and want you to be the GM? How long were you there before they asked you to be the GM of the new location, and kind of how did that play out?
I was there. I would say I've been there now going on 3 years in March. So it was about 2 years in, 2 years and some change in after the decision was made, for me to be the GM. And it was just the fact that I knew this is what I wanted, because when I originally came to the Augusta organization, Brian and Jeremy in these meetings would talk about future plans and what's coming up. And I automatically saw that there was an opportunity for me to make this job a career.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, that was a no-brainer for me,
Mm-hmm.
especially seeing how the business was ran at that time. I knew that this was the best decision for me to make. So I did what I had to do in order to make myself stand out, put in the long hours, stay longer, read the books, do the audio books, present them, host meetings. So I was just doing those things to make myself stand out, and ultimately, um, having tough conversations. I told them from the very beginning that I have no problems with having tough conversations and getting the results that we need.
Mm-hmm. Do you think your mentality is that of an employee, or are you more an owner thought process that has a problem being an employee?
Well, say that again.
Well, some people cannot be employees. They're just always pushing against everything and they're wanting to go out and do things on your own. Do you think you're more like that? Or do you think you are more steady, stable, and just kind of working your way up, knowing that this is part of it till you can do your own thing?
Yeah, I think I would say a little bit of both, honestly. But because I do have pushback on certain things, but I know what the goal is ultimately. So whatever is going to make sure we move the needle forward, I'll go with that decision, even against better judgment of other people.
Yeah.
I'll do
Okay.
that.
So you'll defer. You'll defer to others if they're in leadership over you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely respect the fact that Jeremy and Brian have um, the only thing they have above me, and this is what they tell me, is the time. They put more
Mhm.
time into it, so they have that over me, and they can make better decisions based off of past experiences. So
Yeah.
I take very much heed to that, and that ultimately influences the decisions that I make for the North Augusta location.
So when he, I'm assuming it was Brian, came and asked you about taking that location, had you brought it up first? Like, hey, if something opens up, I would like to move up in the company? Or did they on a continual basis say, what are you looking to do? What's your dream? What's your goal? How did that play out?
Actually, to be completely transparent and honest with you, the way it really worked out, I thought that I was going to get the next location that's coming out, which is going to be the Aiken location.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Originally, Matthew, which is Jeremy's younger brother, he was the general manager of the North Augusta location, and he's been with them a little bit longer than I was. So I just felt like it was, you know, I had to put in more time. So
Yeah.
ultimately, I kind of knew that he was going to receive the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I had to work towards getting the next location, which was the Aiken location. So I remember something that you had said from a previous summit that we went to, and you said that you have to be in the mind frame that you're the owner. This is your business. Run it accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
So I've taken that mindset, and I just always developed that and kept that in my head every day that I went to work. So it allowed me to be confident with saying certain things, making certain decisions, and I think that's what probably stood out to Brian and Jeremy
Mm-hmm.
was the fact that I was moving off of that type of needle. So I think that's what kind of stood out to them, in my opinion, because that was something that you spoke, and I was like, man, that is really true. So I just kind of took that role, and I think it stood out.
Mm-hmm.
So with Matthew first receiving the North Augusta location, things were a little rocky. He had a few hiccups here and there, and ultimately the decision was made to put me into the role, and it came as a surprise to me. Like it wasn't where they sat me down and said, hey, we're thinking about doing this. No, they said, hey, Jeremy called me and said, hey, this is what we're doing. You're now the general manager of the North Augusta location. And
Ah,
yeah, so I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. Yeah.
wow, that's awesome. I really believe to prep people from within. And when people act like you with having an attitude of ownership, that is like really stands out to owners. And so I believe when crisis happen or something like that happens where Matthew is taken out of that role, they immediately think of the next person.
Yeah.
And I remember when Mike and I had a conversation about we needed a regional coach. We need somebody to like a success manager for the franchisees. And it was immediate. Like Nick is the person. And so that person doesn't even know that they're being watched or that their character is admired or how they handle themselves. But you were the first and only choice, and you're the person that they thought of. Were you kind of freaked out at that moment?
No, I was very excited. I was very happy. I felt like all the hard work that I was putting in definitely was not unnoticed.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt very accomplished, and I felt like I was in the right place, and I was making the right choice, and I
Mm-hmm.
made the right decision, and it ultimately worked out for me. That was my thought process.
What is the role like as compared to being an employee, to be a GM?
Um, Basically, to keep it very very simple and minimalistic. The difference is, as an employee, once you clock out, that's it. It's over. You made it. You won. You don't have to deal with it until tomorrow.
Yep.
But once I entered the general manager role, that ideology went completely out the window.
Yep.
So, and I think about it all the time, and I
Yep.
think about all the all the things I have to do, and ultimately, that was something that kind of was a shocker. I mean, I knew that I thought that I could just disconnect,
Yeah.
but that's not the case.
No, being in charge is not all it's cracked up to be, is it?
No.
I love it. So, what is a typical day like for you? Do you do estimates?
Yes, ma'am. I do. Now my schedule is structured as such, so I am a working general manager. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm doing BHs. Typically, what I do is all projects, and
Okay.
I do all the projects. I technically don't have a project crew or people for that. The two guys that we do have right now are doing all the mowing until we were able to fill up. But right now, I do all the projects, and I may do a few mows here and there. But starting this upcoming week, I'm going to be doing more mows because we're getting to that point where it's time to move forward. So I've been doing all the projects Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and honestly, it's been really strenuous. That was something that I didn't really take into consideration. The fact that because usually we have two guys that would do the projects,
Mm-hmm.
and no big deal. But for me to do all the projects solely by myself, sometimes it's a little strenuous. But I understand that it's to help to pay my salary.
Right.
So, and that's where I can really make the difference in making sure that my salary is covered, is banging out those big ticket jobs. So I handle all the projects on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday and Thursday is when I do all of my estimates.
Got it. So on Tuesday and Thursday is the day filled with estimates, or is it routed in with some other stops you have to make, mowers and supplies and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, so my schedule is not really filled with estimates for Tuesdays and Thursdays. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, what happens is once I finish with my estimates, that's when I do all my follow ups.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do all my follow ups on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. I make sure that the equipment is greased, everything that's needed, we can pick up, order in supplies. That's when I handle all that. So after I make sure all the field work is done as far as estimates, that's when I can start working on making sure all of our mowers are right, making sure we got string, supplies, etc.
So you have two guys on your crew?
Yep, I have two guys on my crew right now.
And so when you do estimates and then when a job is accepted, do you order all the materials and have them delivered?
All of it.
Okay, you do everything. So then how do you report back to Brian and Jeremy, or who do you report to?
Who do I report to as far as for what?
Yeah, like kind of what's going on. We're doing good,
Okay.
guys
Yep.
are
Yep.
doing great, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So me and Brian, we have our meetings once a week, every
Okay.
Wednesday, and we go over how many BHs we have, how many projects we've got booked out, what is our close ratio. We go over money in the account for that week, for the year to date. We look at where we are in reference to what we got for the goal for North Augusta for year two, and we see how far we're off, and we see what adjustments that we need to make. So me and Brian go over that every Wednesday morning, and our meetings are from 6:15 to about 7 o'clock.
Wow. And have you found that to be stimulating? Is that the best part for you?
Yeah, it is, and in the sense that when I'm actually in the field doing the work, sometimes it feels like it's a little bit more than what it is. But on Wednesdays, I get to look back from a an eagle eye view and see that
Yeah.
oh, it's not really. I only did 23 BHs and not 30, but it felt like 30, but really
Yeah.
it was 23. So it's like yeah, I guess I could push a little bit harder. So yeah, it definitely helps, and it's definitely motivating to see each week where we're going, how much we're growing, how many new moles we've got for that week. So we're tracking all that.
That's pretty exciting. Do you guys take your own phone calls, or does command take your calls?
Command takes the calls for now.
And is that all they do for you?
No, they do the calls. They handle the emails. They handle the scheduling as far as the new moles. They
Okay.
handle that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all they handle right this minute.
And
And,
how is
oh, and the P for
sorry,
P. They also do P
P
for
for
P.
P? Okay.
Yeah.
And are you the one that deals with command? Like you're running the whole thing by yourself, and then if you need help, you reach out to Jeremy or Brian?
Yep. So I'm the one going back and forth with Connect Team and letting them know, move this, move that. Please call this guy. Please call this woman. And sometimes Jeremy may step in if he sees that I'm a little busy or tied up and a message comes through. He may interject or he may respond to it for me. But ultimately, all the decisions are on me.
Mm-hmm. That's got to feel great. So that your whole mentality of being an owner, you're actually able to run a location as if it were your own.
Yeah. It's very honoring, but it's also very humbling as well too, knowing that I've got other people looking at me and making sure that I'm doing the right thing and making the right decisions. So it's very humbling.
Yeah. How do you handle it when you're in the middle of it? You're hot, you're tired, you're trying to do estimates, you're trying to do everything else, you're trying to manage the guys during the day. When, stuff comes down from Brian or Jeremy, and you have that feeling, which everybody has this, is like you just don't get it. You just don't understand. How do you guys work through that in those times?
Um, we basically just they give me full autonomy to make sure that I'm very confident in what decisions that I make. They don't ever question my decision making process. They agree and they go along with it as
Mm-hmm.
long as it makes sense and it's not unusual or out of
Yeah.
the norm. So and they've said that to a few clients that I've had. Because they know Brian and Jeremy personally. Some of them seem to think that they could go above over me and
Yeah.
maybe speak to them and get a
Mm-hmm.
different result than what they were looking for, and that result just resorts back to them having to speak with me because
Mm-hmm.
I make the final decisions.
So
So
did they just say whatever Muquit said, or yeah, whatever he's working with you on, that's what you need to do?
yeah,
I
pretty
love
much. Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
that's a good feeling to know that they've got my back and they support me in that way. So
Yeah.
very
So
very
if you
thankful for
messed
that.
up, they're okay with that too. Like you made the decision, you made the mistake, and then you just kind of resolve it yourself.
Hmm.
That's great. Yeah. So these days, when you're trying to work out there and still manage the guys, I'm assuming you're communicating with the guys all day on WhatsApp.
Yeah, on WhatsApp, or they call me. They just
Okay.
call me. Yeah.
They mostly call you. And do
Yep.
they forget stuff a lot, or because they're on P for P, are they pretty good about thinking things out?
Well, right now they don't really forget things as much, and I think that's because they've only got mowing, so
Okay.
that's all that they need. You know, everything else they don't have to grab because everything is on their setup already.
Hmm.
So, but they are very diligent about making sure they have edger blades, weed eater string, 2 cycle oil. So they have a checklist that they have to make sure that they have every day, and they are pretty much on top of that with keeping up with that and making sure that they have it. Now that I have the 2 current guys that I've got, because this is the 3rd cycle of 2 guys.
Mm. Did you
Hmm.
hire? Did you interview and hire these people?
No, I didn't. They were actually on the Augusta side. Well, actually, one of them I did, Nicholas. Nicholas is new. He was interviewed and hired. But the other guy I've got, his name is CJ, and he's been with Augusta for a couple of months now on the Augusta side.
Got it.
So yeah, so he started there, and he ultimately moved over here because I felt like it would be a good decision, and also Jeremy thought it would be a good decision for what we needed to have. So.
Mhm. How
Um,
has it been for you having to lead people and trying to emulate what Brian and Jeremy did in you to try to do that with other people? Have you found that really challenging?
Absolutely, it's hard.
It is.
Yeah, it is definitely hard. Giving just thinking that they knowing that people are not going to have the same mentality, they're not going to
Yes.
have the same thought process, they're not going to remember the things I would remember or put 2 and 2 together as if I would.
Hmm.
So that's been the most challenging part, but it pushes me to have to become a better leader to make sure that I can make sure they understand what the mission is and what the goal is very clear with
Hmm.
minimal objections or obstacles in the way that would hinder them from knowing exactly what they need to do.
Yeah. So, how do you work on yourself to try to become better? Because I know totally what you're talking about. It's not usually till things come up and you think, my goodness, I've got this gap in myself, or there's this lack in me. And then what do you kind of turn to for content or help or mentoring?
Now I've turned to more of audiobooks, trying to get more in tune with audiobooks, and I go to the gym once or twice a week, just depending on what my schedule is like, and just enjoying myself in the nature,
Hmm.
making sure that I don't keep myself bottled up or just locked in all the time. I like to get out and make sure I get an adequate sunlight and to keep my mind refreshed and just always realize what my purpose of starting all this is, and
Hmm.
all that will block any other obstacles or negativity that comes my way.
Yeah. And what is the goal that you've kind of set before yourself and that you keep as like the center of your focus?
So my ultimate goal is to create generational wealth for me and my family.
Okay.
um, I don't have any children at the moment, uh, but I do want to make sure that I'm fully prepared to invest into my children and my generation once
Hmm.
once I reach that point or get to that level, if God willingly.
Hmm.
So ultimately, I just want to make sure that I'm adequately um, ready financially to handle something like that. And the reason why that's so important to me is because growing up, I've seen the difference. I see what having children with not a lot of money can do,
Hmm.
and it's just one of those situations that I'm not willing to take that gamble.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm fully prepared. So it's just been very uh, something that sticks out to me all the time, that
Hmm.
I don't want to take that route of having to struggle with, bringing life into this world and not being ready for it, because I
Yeah.
see it so much, and it kind of eats me up.
So you're saying you're kind of wanting to break the cycle of what you've seen in the generations before you in your family.
hmm Absolutely. I've seen it time and time again. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen the better side, with some of my family, but for the majority, it's just been kind of like the same thing, the same cycle. And I don't wish to continue that cycle anymore. So I'm going to be the one who breaks that cycle.
Hallelujah. You go, sir. I love
Thank
that.
you.
When you're a GM and you're doing estimates and you have the budgeted hours for the jobs, how does it work for a GM? So, do you get paid an hourly wage or a salary? And do the budgeted hours even matter?
Yeah, I get paid a salary weekly, and my projections or my goals for the week is to complete at least 30 budgeted hours, and
Okay.
that 30 includes um, work in the field as well as estimates. So as
Okay.
long as by the end of the week we are at 30 BHs, that's the goal. And of course, sometimes it's going to be off, sometimes it's going to be higher or lower, but as long as it averages out, that's ultimately what we look for.
Okay, so a GM wouldn't actually you could try to beat budgeted hours because you're just getting it done faster,
Right.
but your motivation would be the revenue coming in, right? Do you get a percentage of revenue instead of P for P?
Yeah, well, I'm on salary, so I don't get P for P or a revenue or a percentage of the revenue. I get
Okay.
a salary right now for the time being, and I'm working on increasing the revenue that we get. So I do get bonuses here and there for the revenue that we've done for the month. As far as we do over 30K, I get $600. So right now I'm working on trying to get the $40,000 in revenue,
Yeah.
so that way I can start receiving that 1,200. So that's currently what I'm focused on. But as of right now, my salary is at $1,000 a week, and I get a little $600 whenever I do the 30K for the month.
Yes. So for your long-term goal, how do you plan that out? Do you try to take, is your plan to try to take any of those bonuses and kind of stock them away and not be dependent on that income? Are you really going to need that income for a while just to get by?
Well, it's kind of tricky because I don't need it per se, but it does come in handy. It is hard out here. It's tough.
Yep.
Inflation is real, especially in Georgia, as well as it is in Washington. I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Yep.
So, but I'm at a point where I'm about to. I live in this apartment, and it's pretty expensive. I don't live a minimalistic life. Just being honest with you, I like nice things, so that comes with a price tag. So
Hmm.
I've got a car, a house, or an apartment, all that. But I'm currently looking at buying a home.
Hmm.
That's something that I just started exploring about a month and a half ago. I'm still working through the process with that to get an approval. So I'm trying to downsize a little bit, but
Hmm.
in the best way is for real estate. So I want to get into that market and start tapping in slowly. Of course,
Hmm.
I'm not trying to break the bank or
Yeah.
get rich off of it. I'm just doing what I know is best for me, instead of wasting my money, instead of wasting $1,500 a month on somebody's rent. So
Right. Right.
um,
The girlfriend that you currently have, was she your girlfriend when you were working as an employee at Augusta?
yeah, she was.
So how has this change been for her with you taking a management experience, this position? Because it's a lot more on you. And like you said, you're thinking about it all the time. You're probably doing routing and dispatching and stuff at home. Has she been supportive of that, or is that too much for her?
She's been supportive of it, and the reason why I say that is because currently we don't live together.
Hmm.
We got two different places. So she doesn't live with me at the moment. So she does understand what I'm up against. And
Mm-hmm.
she's pushed me to this point. So right now it seems that everything is okay from the outside looking in. But I can sense, or I can tell when it can eventually become a little bit too much. So I try to make sure that I can get everything that I can done in
Mm-hmm.
adequate time and just be more proactive with my time management.
Yeah.
Because if it's something that I can do now during, business hours, I make sure that I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what keeps me at work for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it might not be much to some people, but uh, I'm I'm usually not leaving work until maybe 6:30, six
Yeah.
forty-five, sometimes 7 o'clock. Just depends on what it is or what's going on for that day.
Yeah. So, typically then it's kind of nice to be living alone because if it's been nuts, you can just come home and crash.
Yeah, yeah,
You
in a
don't have
sense.
somebody that wants to chat and everything. Cause I know what that's like. You just can't say another thing. You're just all talked out.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been pretty manageable, pretty level with me and her right now. She understands what I'm up against. She lets me vent to her, and she gives me ideas and encouragement that I need when things get tough. And we take little vacations to get our mind free of it, and because she's dealing with a lot at her job too. So it's but the thing is, we both know what we want,
Yeah.
and knowing that, we also know what it comes with.
Yes.
So we just gotta go through it to get to it.
100%. You know, it's not going to be easy for a while.
Right, absolutely. So for me, what also pushes me to raise the revenue and hit the goals for the North Augusta location is ultimately that 35%
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
distributed cash.
So, how many customers were there when you first came?
When I first came, it was about 60, about 60.
And was that from Matt working there, or had you divided another piece off of the Augusta location to be North Augusta, or is it just like North Carolina? How did you divide up that?
So that was when Matthew left out. It was
Mhm.
about 60. I want to say maybe 70.
Okay.
So that's when he left. That's how many clients that were in the database at that point.
Okay. And how many do you have so far this spring?
Right now we're looking at 123.
You go.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Do
So
you do OTPs?
yeah, we do OTP.
Amazing.
Hmm.
That's so good. I'm so proud of
And
you
we
guys.
also lowered, and I think what's helping us now is because just a few weeks ago, I told Brian that, man, things are a little bit slower than what we had going. And
Hmm.
we ultimately made a decision to drop our minimal price for mowing. So
Hmm.
for our small yards, we took the approach of dropping them down to our lowest is the 29.59 or
Okay.
29.49, excuse me. So we took that approach, and I'd say within 2 weeks things have been ramping up, and it's hard at first.
Yeah.
It's hard, especially with the type of geographical location that North Augusta is in
Hmm.
compared to the Augusta side, where the things are a little bit more smoother, a little bit more um, transitional. But here in North Augusta, things are a little bit more rougher, and the guys know that, and they speak on that. Just in shop talk, they know, like, oh man, we're you guys are going to North Augusta. So, but I make sure that the guys know that the reason why we're doing this is to build this up. And you guys are just as important as I am, because without you guys, we can't make this happen. So we need everybody to put forth their best effort, so that way we can create the environment and we can let the customers know what type of experience that they're going to receive coming with Augusta. So it kind of sucks at first, knowing that the BHs may be a little bit shy or a little bit different with guys that don't have that experience
Yeah.
that more seasoned guys would have to
Hmm.
create that efficiency. But it's a part of the process to where once we get to that level, we can demand more, we can ask for
Yeah.
more, we can raise those prices. But until we get to that level, we these are the things that we have to do, and it's not going to make sense for me to hire somebody else right now, because if I did do that, then yeah, the work will be easier, but your money might be a little lighter, and then we'll have that issue to deal with when that time comes.
100%. You'll get to August and then they'll be like, man, I wish that person wasn't here so I could make more P for P.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I try to make sure that they know that, and I'm hosting meetings with them on Tuesdays. It's very new, something that we just started maybe 2, 3 weeks ago.
Hmm.
So it's a little nerve wracking sometimes, because I got to make sure I know exactly what to talk about, how
Yeah.
long to say it, not too much because it's so early in the morning. The brain's
Oh,
probably not pumping yet. So, and I'm up 5 o'clock. I done already shot 3 cups of coffee in me, and I'm just over here wired, ready to go. So,
yeah. That's
but
awesome.
yeah, it's definitely something.
So is your long-term goal that every time Brian opens one, you can be a manager of those, or is your ultimate goal to open your own?
I don't know. Right now, it's still kind of up in the air for me. My ultimate goal right now is to make sure that I can build this location to $1 million location and
Okay.
receive the distributable cash, that 35%,
Hmm.
and do something with that money that's going to help get me ready to retire.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like I said, I started talking about real estate, and I'm getting to that point where I need to make sure I've got something set up for the future, for the long haul, that'll carry me over. So ultimately, I want to make sure I get as much cash that I can from here, and put that into, if that's an IRA or a Roth account, or do something with real estate. And me and my significant other were talking about doing some type of Airbnbs, and renting out properties. So that's ultimately how we're gonna use this cash to funnel the next thing.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're pretty grounded in that you're not thinking so high in the clouds that you don't realize that you've got to put your head down and just grind for the next several years.
Yeah, and I completely understand that, and I know that it's not going to be exactly what I want, exactly how I want it, but as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then it's going to ultimately work out, because I feel like there's only two reasons that things don't work out, and it's either you're not supposed to be doing them, or you're not doing it enough. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna make sure I do what I need to do as many times as I have to do it to get the result.
That's awesome. So do you feel like that itch you had when you were at the pizza place and Taco Bell back then, do you feel like some of that's being satisfied and like tapping into what your potential, the potential you saw in yourself?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's giving me a feeling of reassurance that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be. I'm at where I need to be. God has placed all these things in my life for a reason, and it's not just uh, for no reason at all, or just unexplainable. Everything that's happening is for a reason, and
Mhm.
it just sometimes it baffles me that I'm at the place that I'm at, doing the things that I'm doing, having to make the decisions that I make with using my emotional intelligence, because
Yeah.
it really matters.
Yeah. So do you like where you're at in your personal growth and things like you feel pretty secure on the trajectory of where you're wanting to be?
I do, in the sense of I'm letting the vulnerability lead me. So
Hmm.
in that sense, I do, because usually I was the type that I needed to be in control of everything, and I need to know everything.
Yeah.
I need to know what's going on, and
Yeah.
I need to make the call.
Yeah.
So knowing that I'm being led by God, um, allows me to keep that vulnerability, while also knowing that regardless, things are going to work itself out.
Hmm. When he asked you to be GM and you guys came up here for training, what was that experience like for you?
It was definitely eye opening, and it showed me how much structure went into this, and how much effort that every one of the Augusta Nation has put into this, and it showed me that this is a family or a society that we all can learn from each other and know that we're all going through the same things at some point in our journey, and it just feels good to know that we have that Augusta Nation to come back to and speak with and give each other help and pointers and let them know what's going on. And I love the fact that's a part of this nation, because if not, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you stay in contact on Facebook, kind of watch what questions people ask in Augusta Nation and like the masterminds and all of that?
Yeah, I stay in contact and I watch the masterminds and I see what people post. And um, I feel like I should be a little bit more proactive or interactive, should I say? Um, but I do think sometimes I do allow of just being caught up in the moment of work and doing this and doing that. I try not to check my phone, but I kind of need to do it a little bit more often.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with it. And then when I do check it, it's 12 hours later, and I'm just like, I don't want to be that guy that responds to something 12 hours later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Yep, I totally do. How has Copilot been for you?
For the most part, it's been really good to me. For the most part, I mean, there's been a few things that kind of got me a little upset, but ultimately it worked itself out. Overall, I would definitely say I like it better than what we were using for
Mhm.
sure.
And is it getting a little better, like less bugs? It's becoming more user friendly. Have you found as you go along?
Yeah, it's becoming more user friendly. Less bugs, less problems that I was having before. Um, the one thing that we did experience was it went down one time and we weren't able to see the schedules. And I know the biggest thing that kind of got me a little upset was sending out the emails, and
Oh
they were,
yeah.
yeah, that was a big nightmare, and had clients just calling me, stop sending me this and all this. so but yeah, other than that, nothing. Other than that, it's just been a few bugs. But I mean, it is what it is. It happens. It's a part of the game, and they don't last forever. So
Yeah, I remember in Service Autopilot because every software has to grow somewhere and it has to come from some foundation or infancy. And I remember we had one time where every email we had sent went out 26 times. It was horrific. So
wow.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah, but yeah, other than that, it's been really great. I am getting to the point where I'm very confident with using it. I know how to use it from my phone, my laptop, my iPad, and I use them on all three. So I very much like it, and I don't really have many issues with it, honestly.
Well, I'm really excited that you could talk to me today. I think that how you've grown and your maturity and your leadership and managing the team is really going to help a lot of other GMs. What would you say to somebody who's an employee and has visions of, what could be ahead and what they want? You had your vision before you became the GM. How would they behave themselves and act in the business that they could be recognized and prepare themselves so that somebody would ask them to be a GM?
Um, Honestly, I would tell them the same thing that I heard from Landscape Summit from you. I would tell them the same exact thing. Look at it as if the business was yours and this was your personal money put up, that you put up all your income to get this.
Mhm.
Run it as if this belongs to you and not just, oh well, this is not mine. That's what I would tell them. Just look at it as if this was your business, your money was put into it, all your hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, everything you put into this, run it accordingly. So
Mhm.
I would tell them that, and just chase your dreams and follow whatever makes you happy. So, but ultimately, run it as if it was your business.
I love it. I love it. That's what I try to do too, and it gives you a whole different lens to look through then, oh, I just got to do this work. Well, if it's my business, I'm going to have to do a lot more
Yeah.
than I would in the thought process of an employee.
Absolutely.
Do you have any quote or anything you want to share with us?
Um, I would say put God first and allow that vulnerability to come in because it's going to
Yeah.
come.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that. All right. Well, I will not keep you. I know you have a busy week ahead. It's Memorial Day weekend. So are you guys off tomorrow?
No, man, we're working.
I love it. Yeah,
We're
we are too.
working.
So we'll be there for you.
Perfect.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful day and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.